Well, hello once again from Park City, Utah, and the Sundance Film Festival. It's me, Matt Fury from Avid. And as you know, we're out here talking to editors of the projects here at the festival. One of the things that we haven't covered yet is episodic. And premiering in the episodic category is a project called Me We. And we are fortunate to have with us the editor of Me We, Ben Callahan. Ben, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about this project. This sounds like a pretty fascinating show.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story. It's about a teenager from Chicago who it's a simple story at its core about her just really wanting to walk with her first love to high school, but her protective older brother really doesn't want to let her run free. And it's just a beautiful story about her and her family and her friendships. And what's very unique about this one is that it's got a lot of dance numbers in it. And that I didn't see coming. When I read the script and it got to that, I was like, this is just fascinating. It's a beautiful story, and I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Well, nobody ever sees those dance numbers coming. Obviously, everybody would like to be, or every editor, or filmmaker would like to be at Sundance with a project. How was it that you were able to be attached to Me We?
Yeah, so the director, Nzinga Stewart, she directed a show called From Scratch last year. I was called on to hone in the opening of that show. And she remembered me from that. It was a lot of fun to be a part of, and that was a very musical element that we brought into it. And so when she was brought on to direct this show, she thought of me, reached out to me, and put me in one of those awkward, 9 to 10 person Zooms interviewing me. But no, it was all great people. It was a lot of fun. So Nzinga brought me on, and it's been just a dream to work on.
So you described it as a very simple story. They're never that simple. Elements of it, I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot of different projects in your background. We talked about a few of them. What was it about this one? Again, with an indie project, it's never, oh, I'm going to get rich off this one. It's like this is going to matter to me. It's going to be personal to me. What was it about this story that said to you, like, I need to be a part of this?
Yeah, well, that's 100% true for this, because I had just moved to Minneapolis and swore off LA, and then I got this script, and it's about a real life from Chicago, a life that we lost. And I've got a daughter, so that's an important relationship for me. And once I read it and read the real story of it, it's really beautifully written. Rob McElhenney and Kiana Taylor wrote it, and it's just like airtight, just beautiful thing. And I had to look at my wife and say, can I please do this? I have to go to LA for a little bit. I'm sorry, but I feel like this is a good one. And not every chance did I have to say in my career, this is a story that I really think needs to be told, and I really want to be a part of it. Not just the people involved, but getting the story out there, and I feel like I could bring a lot to it, too.
So you mentioned reading the script and not seeing those dance numbers coming. When you looked at the script, that's such an important part of the phase for an editor to see what could be something to consider down the road in post. Did you have any specific notes that you made about the script in terms of, well, I would like to talk to the director, showrunner about this before we get into production?
Yeah. They wanted to bring me on early on to talk about this a lot. They had to pre-plan the musical numbers, obviously, to choreograph and to plan them, how they were going to shoot it, the choreography of the cinematography as well. It was a very involved thing. And so I had questions a lot about pacing of it, because once you get these dance numbers in, you don't want to lose the story at all. You don't want to lose the characters, and you want to enjoy it, but it's every dance number still has to be a full scene. And so that was something we talked about, and how to integrate pacing even when there wasn't music.
So once you took the project, what was the editorial setup? I know you had to go to LA, but were you, working locally, remoting? What was the technical setup, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I started remote in Minneapolis. They shot in Chicago. And so the footage went from Chicago to LA, where I remoted into a system at the It's Always Sunny post-production house. And I was on Avid. We were on 2018, if you care about that, on some trash cans. And that the Avid is very important to me, that it's, on a robust, solid version of Avid. So yeah, we jumped in. I'm from Minneapolis, and then once I actually came to LA, a dumb thing is that I'm at a standing desk with my 32-inch monitors. I like a high-resolution monitor so I can see all of my Avid bins. I like to have not clunky, but I want as much real estate as possible. And the Avid bins allow me to do that pyramid-style footage setup, And that way I can have script up, I can have my bins up, I can have my whole timeline. So Avid's very important to me because I can always, it allows the cleanest, most efficient way from my thought process to execution, because I've got all my keystrokes perfect. I like a blank Apple keyboard just because I've honed in my shortcuts over 15 years, or 20. And Avid just allows me to do that. So my setup was Avid, and it's just very clean that way. I've got one assistant editor, and he just kept it really clean, real sharp, Chris Schmidt, and the whole team, Sean, Jacob, Jeff, they set us up really well.
So once you got to those musical numbers, that can be a real challenge for a lot of editors in terms of how you group the material. So, how many cameras were they able to shoot? I know they're on a budget, but how many cameras did they shoot, and how did you organize and build that all together to do those musical numbers?
A solid question, yeah. Yeah, because luckily, it was treated like a music video where they would, beep it in and then shoot the entire song. It wasn't like middles of the songs normally. And so they'd be grouped into generally 3 or 4 cameras, and then I would have all of that grouped together. So about 9, 12 at times, 12 or more grouped clips. So when I'm watching my cut, I've got all those playing, and it has to play well, and I had no issues. And that way I can kind of multicam, choose different moments throughout the whole thing. And so, yeah, for each dance number, it was just like I had it all laid out in the bin separately, and then one giant ass group clip, or 2 if they didn't fit.
Okay, so I've been asking editors this question, regardless of the type of project they worked on, and that is the most challenging aspect of doing this project. So for you, for MeWe, what was the most challenging aspect? And it could be finding the tone, it could be technical, it could be personal in terms of how it might have interrupted your life. So I'll repeat it. What was the most challenging aspect of working on MeWe?
Totally. Luckily, no technical issues. But the most challenging part was because this is a pilot episode, we didn't want it to be too long. And so the hardest part, of course, is cutting the parts out that you love the most and keeping the tone sharp. Again, the musical beats couldn't interrupt the rhythm of the story. So that was very difficult, but it was a very emotional story. And so I would get emotional every time I watched it. And so that's how you know that it's working, is if you can still be objective and still be surprised by, a part in the scene or well up at something. And so the hardest part was just keeping the story focused on the most important part of the story, just the soul of it.
Well, I know you've got a premiere coming up. I want to both congratulate you on getting into Sundance, also wish you luck with the premiere. And of course, thank you for taking some time to talk to us today about MeWe.
Do I get a free hat?
We'll see. Of course. All right, well, that's Ben Callahan. The project is MeWe. Stick with us here in Park City for more great content about editors, filmmakers, composers, writers, all right here from Park City on the Avid social media channels. Stay tuned.
Thank you.